Buckle up, bucklers, and strap in tight. This is Adrian Brown with As the Buckle Turns, Season 2, Episode 3. On all your favorite podcast directories, Spotify, Spreaker, iHeartRadio. Videos go to YouTube with the audio. Limited episodes on Soundcloud and Podbean. And since our last recording here, we've cleared 2 more podcasting platforms, 2 big ones, Deezer, and we finally cleared Google Podcasts. And that's a big deal. So there's no excuse to not get your ATBT fix wherever you're going out there. So wherever you want to listen to podcasts, we're pretty much available now. And this has been a slow, long grind to get here for somebody like me who just started doing this for fun. You know, I don't really do this for money. I do this for the love of it because I love the subject I talk about still, no matter the situation that the business is in right now and certain topics and situations that come up. But, you know, ratings being what they are and it being in a very uncool place. But if you're really a fan of something, especially an entertainment-based product or any type of television show that may not get the best ratings, but you're just one of those people who's just a diehard person, so sometimes something will always stick with you no matter what. And wrestling is always going to be like that for me. It may not be that like that for some people, but if I have something to talk about, I'm going to come on here and address it. I know there's been a thing about me not recording, but so much. And I know a lot of you noticed that, but I promised myself, especially once I finished broadcasting school, if I wanted to continue this, I'm not going to get involved in this. I don't know how I describe it. I call it the content creation culture, where everybody likes to leech off of artists like me, because I'm also an artist on the side. Y'all know I'm a graphic designer, and people like to reach out to us and try and get us to do things for exposure, and trying to keep up with things like algorithms. And if you don't upload a certain amount of times a week, you're not gonna be more effective when it comes to outreach. You're not gonna be as effective as getting views and making sure you're pushed to the top of the list and things like that. I don't have time for all that. I mean, honestly, if you have a life, you have a wife, kids, and family like I do, stuff like that can be difficult. And I know a lot of times people will start podcasts like this, especially in the wrestling community, and they'll leave it a lot of times because of the amount of content you have to consume out there, but also because of the amount of content that you have to put out to keep yourself, in quotes, relevant. I mean, I've picked up so many things. I mean, my job allows me to work from home now, but as I told you guys before, I am able to pursue other interests and things that's gonna, make me put me in a better position in this world and in life. I've finally gotten some real legitimate voice acting coaching, and the company says I'm in a very good position with my sound, my technique, and where I am. It's just like, I'm hoping by the end of this year, I may bragged about in episode 13 that national people were looking at me, but I know I needed more coaching. They knew, and they drove me to get better at what I'm doing. So I'm keeping my skills sharp and getting coaching, picking up commentary gigs for video games and things like that. Keeping my skills sharp, but learning other things to put myself in a better position to where I want to be and pursue things. As a wrestling podcaster, if you want to do this full time, if you're not doing reviews of every single show, you're not going to have content. And for me, like I said, I want to keep this topical because I don't really have time to record as much as I do. Like I said, I don't really have a quiet spot here for the most part because, like I said, I have children. I have a wife who, I have things to do. Like I said, I want to keep this topical. If there's not a topic out there, there's pretty much no reason for me to record just to be recording. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to bore you guys to death, but the topic I'm talking about in this, sometimes topics just find you. Being who I am, my makeup and my background, it's one of those things you must comment on if you're a guy like me. Most of you know the topic. If you looked at the title of this, you understand what I'm going to go into here. And I'm glad I waited as long as I did because things like this need to have time to hash out. You don't want to just be like, I don't know, the cable news media, no matter which side of the aisle you lean to just jump on a story immediately just to be the first one to have it and be the first one to comment on it. I let this whole thing breathe for pretty much a whole week. And for the most of ones who know, I'm talking about the Tessa Blanchard racism accusations. At this point, I don't even think it's an accusation. I'm going to play clips. I'm gonna have I'm gonna read tweets in this. I'm gonna read all the tweets, maybe not all of them, but majority of them, the important ones. Her initial one, a lot of the responses, and I'm gonna play some audio. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you're gonna see a lot of them flashing across the screen in between the clips of the Hard to Kill event, which is what this is piggybacking off of and to begin with. And I think I'm gonna just start there. I can't really go into the story of what Tessa has been accused of and everything without really going into the story of Impact and the Hard to Kill event in the first place. So I'm not going to review the show. I'm just going to run over the card and everything and what led to it. Now, after Tessa Blanchard had lost the Knockouts title, I believe it was, at the Homecoming in 2019, I believe, she had pretty much been kept out of the title picture for the women the entire time. And she was still wrestling the women here and there, but for the most part, towards the end of 2019, she transitioned into battling against Sami Callihan and his faction known as OVE, which I think is a pretty good faction in this business. I'm all about factions. I think they make any company, any portion of the business better. And so the more and more they put her up against OVE, the more you start to realize where they were going with all this, which culminates into the end of the Hard to Kill event about a week ago. The issue was, would she be the first woman in that company's history to hold their main title? Because little by little, match by match, even when she was losing to to the guys she was wrestling, she always looked strong. She always looked powerful. She always looked like she was at least hanging with them, even if she lost. Matter of fact, I believe she lost to Sami twice before leading up to her wrestling him again at the Hard to Kill event. When you see this slow boy, you're just like, I don't think a lot of people even noticed or even really cared, I should say, about it. You probably figured it was going to happen, but here's the thing. The whole narrative that surrounding the situation became more so about that than the actual issue that was brought up. Now, leading up to the Hard to Kill event, if you want to go over it, like I said, I'll just do it really quickly. It was Shamrock versus Madman Fulton. Shamrock beat him. Announcers were trying to play up Fulton's wrestling credentials, but Ken's a UFC Hall of Famer. Not that it really matters. Ace Austin beat Trey Miguel. The whole storyline with, Ace Austin hitting on Trey's mom all the time when she was on the sidelines in the stands and whatnot. Ace Austin needs to go to NXT. That guy has too big of a personality to be stuck in Impact. Y'all know me, I'm always talking about people who need to move up or probably need to be in a better situation. He's one of those guys. That guy needs to be in NXT like yesterday. Taya beats ODB and Jordan Grace in a triple threat match. Not so clean finish, but whatever if y'all really care about that. RVD beats Cage and Daga. Cage somehow took a Van Daminator and busted his lip. His top lip needed stitches, so they brought out Daga, Tessa's boyfriend, or fiance now I should say, to finish the match. I guess they called it on the fly in the back when they saw Brian's lip, but whatever. RVD goes over that match. Eddie Edwards goes over Michael Elgin for the Call Your Shot trophy. Michael Elgin's at the peak of his powers. You notice certain people sometimes when they're just working a certain way, their body looks a certain way. Michael Elgin's at that point in his career. He's at the point where he just can't do any wrong. You see he's worked on his body. You see he's worked on his work. That stint in Japan did him a lot of good. And he's really meshed that well with the American style, considering he's Canadian. But he's got the best of all worlds if you think about it. And I think at this moment right here, he's another one of those guys that probably could be in a better position. But I think he likes the schedule of Impact and the fact that it's in Canada. Moose goes over Rhino basically in a spear versus spear match. Moose is basically taking out all the ECW originals that have signed into Impact right now. And that guy's pretty much going to end up being champion before the year's over, if I'm not mistaken. It'll be a long time coming. But we'll get to him later in this episode as well. The North, which consists of Ethan Page and Josh Alexander, go over Willie Mack, who had to take them on solo because Rich Swann, his partner, got injured in an independent event a few nights before. And I don't understand why you're wrestling another useless match that close to a big event in a company that you're signed to. These guys talk about having their bodies and ripped apart and wanting to spend more time with their families and things like that, but they're taking all these bookings so close together and things like that, and they're killing their bodies regardless. I don't get it. It's just, you can't have it both ways. I've said that numerous times in season 1. Go back and listen to it. I've said it plenty of times. And Tessa and Sammy were the main event. Again, this is the second time they've been the main event together. The first time was at Slammiversary, which was a very good match. I'm not going to lie. That was very good. I almost did a review on that myself, but, I passed on it. But, and Tessa wins the Impact Championship, basically throwing away, and I'm going to get on a little rant right here because I don't normally do superlatives and awards on this show. I do them on my own time in person. In my opinion, I believe Sami Callihan was the wrestler of 2019. He came into that company and he completely put it on his back. He made that company visible. I mean, the guys who were in it that had the title before him, Johnny Impact, John Morrison, for those who don't know, and Brian Cage, who I'm a huge fan of. Looks like he may be going to AEW, but who knows? Honestly, the guy who was doing the most for that company, whether he was there, whether he was, going back and forth to AAW in Chicago or other promotions like that, the guy has transformed himself into something ridiculously overwhelming and undeniable, no pun intended, ever since he dumped the Solomon Crow gimmick when he left NXT. And I don't know, it's just like, sometimes it takes that moment for you to find yourself. Sami Callihan has done that for himself and carved out his niche in Impact Wrestling. And the fact that he's basically been a glorified transitional title holder to get it to the first woman champion kind of insults the intelligence of a guy like me who's watched this for a very long time and respects, to a point, a guy like Sami Callihan for building himself up and turning himself into something that could be noticeable. Who doesn't mind getting heat, who will spit on a guy like Jim Cornette on purpose just to get the reaction, who will accidentally break Eddie Edwards' jaw in a match, but then be unapologetic about it in a character-based way on the internet just to draw more heat. There are guys out there like him who still care about that, who still don't care about being liked, who understand they need to stay in character and understand that what this is about. That's why he calls himself the Draw. That's why he calls himself the Death Machine. Okay, he's the death of every single thing that's popular right now. Okay, he probably didn't really fit in with the mold of the, friendly TV style of WWE and NXT, but he seems to fit fine with what they're trying to do in Impact. And he says it plenty of times, a lot of times in those promos that they cut, how he put that company on his back. And you know what I'm saying? How the moment he got there, he changed the whole mood of the place, which is the honest to goodness truth. But again, like I said, all of that culminated in him getting his moment in that steel cage against Brian Cage to be a transitional champion to Tessa Blanchard. Now, I'm not sure who's going to beat her for the title, but Booker T even said it himself on one of his shows lately. If she beats any of the guys, it makes all of them look weak, which means, and if any woman actually does compete against her and gives her a competitive match, any of those women will automatically be able to compete with the guys. This is the classic example of booking yourself into a corner. A woman can win the title, but it's always a matter of what you do with her after the fact. Okay, Jacqueline winning the Cruiserweight title in the WWF, or Chyna winning the Intercontinental title in the WWF, Sexy Star winning the Lucha Underground title. She was the first to win the first major championship as a woman in any promotion in this country, if I'm not mistaken. She still lost, but they did a good story with that, with the vindictiveness of Johnny Mundo cashing in the Gift of the Gods title the way he did with actual cash. There's always a way to make sure that the woman's accomplishment doesn't mean less, but you have to understand that physically the man should be superior unless she uses underhanded tactics or somehow another, gets a little bit of help. It just depends on how they're going to approach this, and I hope they do it the right way. Should it have happened at all? I think that's the question everybody really wants to know. I guess we should just get to the point right here. Now that we just get past the hard to kill part, let's just get to Tessa. Okay, so the night before Hard to Kill. This is a big moment for Tessa, so she probably knows she's going to win. Most of us all know she's probably going to win this. So, tweet comes out, and I'm not sure exactly why she decided to do this. Maybe she was just feeling herself, big old women's empowerment moment, and this is what she was feeling at the moment, so she just tweeted it out there. Hey women, Try supporting one another. Cool things happen. That seems well and good enough. It's one of those situations where just like, okay, women's empowerment, women's movement, women's wrestling, hashtag give divas a chance, all that good stuff. We know how this is. Now, you'd figure that would be okay. But a lot of the a lot of the women wrestlers saw this and they said, okay, hold on, we got some receipts here, people. And the first person to chime in is Allison Kay, AK-47, Sienna, the current NWA women's champion, former Knockouts champion herself, former Shine champion, 2-time Shine champion, if I'm not mistaken. Very decorated wrestler. One of the more, believable women. Former Mae Young Classic competitor and everything. Allison Kay is pretty big clout in this business right now. With her character on NWA television on Power and everything. So, first person to notably quote this is her. Now, I'm going to post all these. They should all be scrolling across the screen if you're watching this on YouTube. But I'm going to read these little by little right here, just so y'all can get the story. Allison Kay quotes the tweet and says, "Remember when you spat in a black woman's face and called her the N-word in Japan? Was that you supporting women? The audacity, in all caps, of this tweet." And then it just keeps rolling. And maybe, I don't know. It's just now, these aren't women in the same company. These are all women in different companies, different at points in their careers and everything. And it's just over and over again. You just see this coming. That was Allison Kay. This is Chelsea Green. Most of y'all know her from Tough Enough. Most of y'all know her from, the Daniel Bryan's physical therapist session and everything. She former Knockouts champion herself when she was over there as Laurel Van Ness. That's it. She's accomplished too. She wrestled it all in the Fatal 4-Way match with Tessa Blanchard that Tessa Blanchard won. Chelsea Green quotes the same tweet, says, "You've consistently put down, bullied, and belittled countless female workers, including me. Is that support?" And it just keeps going and going. Rebel actually quotes Allison Kay's tweet and says, "I like to think people change over time, but I can confirm the bad behavior and non-supportive attitude in Japan. I was there." Next tweet. Isla Dawn, NXT UK. Like I said, different companies, different women, different brands. Quotes the same tweet. Says this: "As someone who experienced your bullying firsthand, received regular verbal abuse, was spat on, had rumors spread about me, dealt with multiple attempts by you to blacklist me from other companies, plus more. I just pray you now follow your own advice." And the hits just keep on coming, folks. Like I said, you're going to see all these scrolling across the screen. I'm going to read as many of these as I can. Then you got Renee Michelle. Most of you know her. She's Drake Maverick's wife. The one that was always with him when he was chasing the 24/7 title. Says, "The day I got a call from my girlfriend La Rosa Negra, which is a Afro-Latina wrestler from Mexico if I'm not mistaken, of the incident, she made me promise to keep my mouth shut because she was afraid of being blackballed by her. As promised, I did. So I helped her get into Marvelous, which is another Japanese promotion." More and more people are just coming out saying this stuff. So you got to think about it, though. If you got all these people with all these receipts, would you think that you're being attacked, or would you apologize for what you said? But I'll continue real quick here. Priscilla Kelly, also, if I'm not mistaken, she was a Mae Young Classic competitor as well, former Shine Nova champion, the original Shine Nova champion. Here's her. She quotes the tweet again herself. "Remember publicly putting me down on Twitter last year for something that didn't involve you whatsoever, then continually to drag my name down to other people for it. Pepperidge Farm remembers. You should probably delete this tweet." Okay, that's flames. Now, the incident she's talking about, I think, was the tampon incident, when she did her own little Joey Ryan type thing with the bloody tampon, but it got people talking. I guess Tessa put her down about it. I tried to stay as far away from that story as I could. The woman who actually had it was supposedly spat on, the Rosa Negra, she responded as well. She's like, to Sienna and Chelsea Green, she's like, "Thank you so much, that story. Yes, that happened in Japan in 2017. If Tessa Blanchard don't remember it, I can't." And she's like, "I'm not a mean girl with any co-workers around the world. Be kind of racist is not ridiculous, it's a sickness." So I'm guessing maybe her English isn't all that good still, so she couldn't really put it all out in a tweet. But like I said, all these are going to be on the screen, but they're all out there for you to see. I could keep reading these things, but now you're probably wondering, Where's Tessa in all this? There's only a couple real responses from her regarding all this. I guess the first one she said, this one right here, she's actually quoting Chelsea Green. She says, "I've never been anything but kind to you. I've dealt with mean girls since I started, not saying I'm a saint. Hell, I've had my ups and downs. I've made silly decisions, such as life. You have zero merit in your comments, instead putting me down for a little clout. You got my number." And then there's another tweet right here. She's like, "Not true. That's my statement, and most attention I'll give it because of how actually ridiculous it is." So you got to think about Tessa. She's probably preparing for the match right now, and all this is happening. And a lot of people are attacking Tessa for the accusations, but a lot of people are also attacking the women, saying, "Why are y'all bringing up this now on the night before she has this big moment?" And I'm just saying this, and a lot of people have pointed this out too. Tessa brought it upon herself with that tweet in the first place. So you would have to believe that she actually set this up herself if that's the case, if you think this is some sort of clout chasing scam or something like that. So did she put this out there and tell the women to do that? Because that's where this is heading right there by that logic, which I don't buy at all. You're going to hear a lot of people talk about this in other cases before me, but the only people that should be commenting on things like this are other women wrestlers that may know Tessa in general, and honestly, African American or black podcasters like myself, because you can't come from an objective place when it comes to that word, okay? You can't come from an objective place when it comes to somebody being spat on you or something like that. And when you see something like that, when you're a person of color like me, it sets something off in you, whether the accusations are true or not. And another thing, if something like that actually happened, and you have all these receipts, and all these people are saying it's true, the only words that should come out of your mouth is sorry, not "I will not give this any of my attention." This is where Tessa has lost a lot of people right here, despite her accomplishment. I think what's going on here with Tessa happens to be, there's a sense of entitlement that will always come when you have a bloodline. Now, it's a matter of how you perceive yourself and a matter of how you act. Roman Reigns acts a certain way. You can see him in the ring and on television, and you hear the things people say about him behind the scene. He takes it seriously. It's part of his bloodline, is a part of his character, but it actually doesn't define him as a person. He respects it because he respects the business. When it comes to Tessa, as a third-generation wrestler, there seems to be a level of entitlement because of her name. And I think that's really what's going on behind the scenes with her attitude. Okay, it can probably come off a little bit stuck up. It can probably come off as a little bit bullying. It can probably come off as a little bit standoffish and, I want to get my stuff in, as opposed to, you should hire me for this match and not her. I mean, it's one of those, do you know who I am type things? Do you know what my last name is? Yes. You're telling his daughter, you're Joe's granddaughter, your Magnum TA stepdaughter. We understand that, okay? We know who you are, Tessa. But that doesn't give you the right to do the things that you do, and it doesn't give you the right to not apologize. You got other people saying these things are true, and it's just like, here's the thing. If somebody asks you to keep this secret until it's time for them to do so, it's like, all Allison Kay has said, she said it herself. She was like, "I kept this quiet because La Rosa asked me to." Okay? It's one of those things just like, keep this a secret. Don't blab it. And that's okay. That does not mean somebody's sitting on something to wait for the right moment to pounce. Like I said, Allison had her moment in Impact. She was Impact champion before Tessa. Okay? She probably doesn't want to have much else to do with that company. She's moved on to bigger and better things. You really think she probably really wanted to be Impact men's champion? I doubt it. So using that as an excuse for why all these women said this, I mean, that's kind of lame. It's kind of more of a reflection on these other people that are saying that, more so than it is on Allison and Chelsea and all these other women. All they are doing is accounting their personal situations, their personal interactions. It's like one of those situations where it's just like, just because you had a nice interaction with the person doesn't mean they're not scum. Ladies, your guy could be your best friend or something like that. He's always nice to you, but that doesn't mean he didn't rape somebody else in the past. Sorry for the vivid imagery, but think about that. Like, he's my friend, but he didn't murder me, even though he shot somebody 10 years ago. And he did his time. Okay, that still doesn't change the fact that he murdered somebody. Just because she was nice, Tessa Blanchard was nice to you at some meet and greet, and she was the nicest person in the world, she's supposed to be nice at those points. You don't interact with her backstage. Okay, you aren't booked on shows with her where it might affect your purse, where it might affect your money. Okay, where it might affect your ability to get booked in another promotion somewhere because she has a last name and you don't. Got it? But the one thing that will set me off about this sometimes is when people come out, there's a good way to be a company guy, and then there's a bad way to be a company guy. I understand that when it comes to defending where you work, everybody who works at a place that they enjoy, that's paying their bills and whatnot, they think that's the best company in the world. But then there's a good way to defend your work and there's not. What Seth Rollins did with Will Ospreay last year, talking about his wallet and stuff like that, calling WWE the best wrestling on the planet, that's good because that's what you're supposed to think. But then I've got a guy like Moose, again, somebody else I'm a fan of. For goodness sake, his theme song is the opening to my show in season 2. That's how much of a fan of the guy I am. I think he's awesome. But I've got him, I've got Kiera Hogan who works there, I've got Diamante who used to work there, and they have these like tweets that are dismissing the situation, or if they're not dismissing the situation, what they're doing is being indifferent about it and not taking a stance. What you don't understand is it enables the oppressor when you refuse to take a stand. Somebody posted a tweet, or not a tweet, or a quote or something on my Facebook page when I posted something similar to that fact about that, and I'll probably put that in a YouTube video as well if you see it right about here. And when you don't take a stand, when you enable things, you are just as much taking a stance as well, if you understand what I'm saying. Not taking a stance is a stance. Okay, indifference can't be tolerated. Okay, you either have somebody's back or you don't. I've got Moose here quoting Allison Kay's tweet saying, "I guess you and Chelsea Green are absolute angels with a clean past." The timing of this tweets from you guys shows a lot about your characters. No, Moose, the fact that you're trying to be Mr. Company Guy, I know you call yourself Mr. Impact Wrestling, but come on, this is not the moment to do that. You are a black man. Understandably, I understand you don't discriminate. Your current fiance is white. That has nothing to do with why you tweeted that. That has, like I said, your tweet has more to do with the fact that you support Impact Wrestling. You're supporting your friend. Like I said, he and Tessa Blanchard, you can see them on Instagram. They work out together all the time. Moose, Brian Cage, Daga, her fiance. They're always together. But that's company. That's company business. That's company camaraderie. Again, the key word there is company. You're not thinking clearly here because what you're thinking about is your company. What you're thinking about is the fact that this might affect the main event of the event that you're performing at, which is admirable. But it's probably not the time to take this stance. And also, too, you worked with both of those women, if I'm not mistaken, while they were there. You worked with Allison Kay. You worked with Chelsea Green while they were there as Impact Wrestling champions. As Impact Knockouts champions, I should say. You know them. So there's no need to throw shade like that on Twitter. There really isn't. And people aren't throwing shade like that. They're just being indifferent about it. Kiera Hogan and her partner Diamante. Kiera Hogan right here. I'm not speaking on any situation. I'm not speaking on any particular person. Us as people need to learn and grow. Everyone needs to evolve. Just some words of wisdom is all. Just some advice. Hell, I'm talking to myself too. Okay. Yeah, I'm not even sure. You could just put that tweet in draft and left it there for eternity as far as I care. Because again, you're not taking a stance. Okay? And I'll get to you at the end as well when it comes to the closing of the event. And you got her partner Diamante. Remember that time in the movie Mean Girls where everyone rallied up on their personal stories about Regina George? Yeah, that was a movie made about girls in high school. But here we are on Twitter in 2020. I think everyone can do a little better than this. I mean, come on. Really? That's the best you got? Okay, everybody needs to just sit on their personal stories and just let it simmer in them forever. Calling someone the N-word and spitting on their face is something that should have saw the light of day from the moment it happened. But the woman it happened to asked for it to stay under wraps because she didn't want to have any trouble and she wanted to keep bookings for the rest of her career in Japan. Maybe, just maybe, you could be a bit more sensitive to that. Okay, if everyone has receipts, You don't just go into a murder investigation like if somebody saw it and they come out later and say, I actually did see it that night. Are you going to say the exact same thing if somebody comes out after the fact because they didn't want to get shooken down by the gangs in the area or something like that if they saw the shooting? Diamante would probably be defending the exact same thing if that's the case. That's what I see that as. Okay, as black people, when we hear that word, a lot of us would probably go off. Me personally, I'd probably have slapped her in the face. I wouldn't have cared if she was a woman. Yeah, I said it. Yes, I did. But La Rosa Negra, I can probably see she's probably more of the low-key type. Okay, again, and she didn't want to have her bookings affected. When things start affecting with your livelihood, you will even accept being called the N-word and spat on because of that. That's the politics of this business. And I said it too. These people are so wrapped up in the politics of their business, they don't even understand the politics of the regular world now. And the connotation of that word and what it really, really means to some people. And it's really, really hurtful and shameful. And there are other tweets that Diamante put out that other people responded to, and she responded to them. Like I said, they'll all be scrolling across the screen. I've got some tweets by Big Swole. You'll be able to see them all for yourself. But if you're only listening to this on audio, trust me, just Google any article. You'll find these same tweets. You'll find some other ones that I'm not reading here. But in the end, Tessa wins the title. She wins it anyway. And that's the real question here. Should they have killed it off? Should they have killed the entire thing and not put it on her? Because I think it would have been hard regardless. Because here's the thing. Sami Callihan's character on the show is despicable. And no matter what, he always stays in character so much, it makes it so hard for you to root for that guy. So even if a lot of people didn't want her to win that night and thought it wouldn't have been the best thing to do, there's no way you would have gotten, Sami Callihan to turn into a good guy. There's no way you would have gotten Tessa to look like the bad guy as despicable as Sami Callihan. The dude's spitting mucus on people. He's constantly breaking the rules. I mean, he's vile. He's disgusting. And he stayed in character the whole match. If I'm at that point, I'm going to try and find some way to make people boo Tessa and cheer him. But there's no way it's going to happen because he only knows he's sticking true to his character every single way he can. Should they have put the belt on her anyway? I don't know. I can't really say in hindsight. Should they? Would I have? Probably not. But then I probably would have gotten accused of bending to the social justice warriors of the world and things like that, which I think is lame. Okay? There's nothing wrong with social justice. Like I said, when you look like me, you sound like me, you are who I am, you have my background, there can never be enough social justice in this world. And there's no such thing as bending to it, especially when it comes to this topic. Especially when it comes to that word. Especially when it comes to those accusations and actions that she's accused of doing. Okay, you don't get to decide for us how we react to that word. And the fact that we have people that don't look like us backing us, you shouldn't downplay how they feel about it too. How the fact that they had that woman's back regardless of what her skin color was or what their skin color was. They knew right from wrong, especially if this is true. Here's the thing I've always said about this too. When it comes to race and the issue of it, we don't have a high horse in this race when we talk about it. People of color, we have the only horse in this race. Period. Now, I'm going to play some audio for you right here. When after she wins the title at the end of Hard to Kill. And I'm going to sit here, just listen to what she says here. No, just take a listen to this, and I'll give my thoughts on it after the fact.
Sam, you know me, you have been the thorn in my side, and tonight we did it. Nobody in this life is perfect. We're all human. And it doesn't matter what you say about me. It doesn't matter what you call me. I've got one of the strongest minds that I've ever known. So whenever you come for me, you come for all these people. And I am now the standard bearer of Impact Wrestling. And man or woman, pound for pound, I am one of the best in the world. And I am now your world champion.
Okay, where do I start with that? Let's go with number one, first of all. No apology. No actually addressing the situation and addressing exactly what was said. She kind of danced around it, talking about it doesn't matter what you call me, I'm the standard bearer now. You know, you come for me, you come for all these people. We're all human. Yeah, I agree, but we're not all racist. I agree, but we all don't use that word. I know we all spit when we talk, but we all don't deliberately spit on people. Again, you have not come out and apologized, and you have one of the strongest minds you know. That reminds me of somebody, but I'm not going to mention their name on here for fear of backlash. So, listen, congratulations on your accomplishment. Congratulations on what you did. You still have yet to actually address it. Now, there have been some things that have come out over the past few days. I've got a tweet right here, I guess I should say a screenshot right here from bodyslam.net saying La Rosa and Tessa has been resolved and they apologize to one another for what happened between them. And then just yesterday, before I record this, Tessa Blanchard releases this online. I have no idea where this comes from, but like I said, it's going to be on the screen right here for you, but I'm going to read the audio right here for all of you just in case. Over the last week, I have been accused of calling a fellow wrestler a racial slur. To read this allegation has been personally upsetting. To be clear, I absolutely did not use that word. The word is not in my vocabulary. That word is not in my heart. Racism is not in my heart. Yet I know many people have to deal with racism in a way I never will have to. Racism is an awful part of American history. And it is equally awful that it's still part of our society today. While I did not do what was claimed, I stand ready to use my platform to support the fight against racism however I can. Tessa Blanchard. Again, no apology. Nothing. There's just lack of self-awareness. There's this lack of actually addressing what happened. If it actually happened. But it's almost like she's saying it happened, but she's like, it's like a non-denial denial. And there's just no way to simply address that. Okay, you're going to be looked at a certain way now, out the side of the eyes of a lot of people who actually do follow your career, who actually do watch Impact. People who actually want to see you succeed even. Some people who were fans of you may not be anymore. And here's the thing. There's a lot of people from the black community that you're going to have to own up to in the meantime. Because when that word is used, or even when it's thought of being used, it's really hard for us to give you our trust back. Here's the thing. If you can redeem yourself, if you at least somewhat give somewhat of an apology, somehow. Hulk Hogan has never ever apologized, and he was on tape saying it. And for a lot of us, he's just persona non grata to a lot of us still because of that. Here you are, what are you, 25, 26 years old, and you want to already be that at that age? I really hope not, because you have so much potential, Tessa. You really do. And to address one more thing, after the match, not a single woman came out to congratulate her. Only the men. I mean, really think about that. And the only woman that came out was the woman that basically did it because she had to. Because she was all in on the whole storyline of passing the torch to Tessa. And the fact that Gail Kim comes out there and does that after she craps on the WWE all the time, that's part of her brand online about their racism issues and holding women back, that's very poetic. I mean, hypocrisy knows no bounds in this business, but sometimes you just shouldn't make it but so obvious. I mean, if you weren't going to say anything, Kiera Hogan, I'm looking at you too. And you were trying to just be quiet about it and semi-supportive. You should have at least come out there to congratulate her on such a important milestone, correct? but you weren't going to say nothing and you weren't going to take no stance. Very interesting. Now, I could address real quickly the comments of Melissa Santos, but I will say this. Melissa Santos, those of you who don't know, she's the former ring announcer for Lucha Underground. You probably saw her on there all the time. She's married to Brian Cage now, and they have a child together. There's a video that was released by her. I'll probably just link the tweet or something like that, or an article that actually has audio or video in it to it. I'm not going to put that on here. But here's the thing when I hear people like her. This whole thing about calling people racist is wrong when there's actual racism going out there. Define actual racism, please. Because unless you are in our shoes, again, you don't get to tell us how we get to react to that word. And this goes back a lot of times to what I hear from a lot of my West Coast friends about the Hispanics on that side of the country. There's a lot of racism towards us and a lot of misunderstanding towards us from our Mexican friends or any type of our Hispanic friends on that side of the country towards us, or at least some obliviousness on their part, or on Melissa's part. Who knows? Again, she's employed by Impact Wrestling. It could be a position where she's defending the company as well. Again, her husband and Tessa are really, really close friends. They work out together as well. Melissa works out a lot with them too. They travel together. They do a lot of matches together. And Melissa's usually there with them. But again, you don't get to tell us how to act, okay? We know it's going to be hard to kill Tessa after all this. But you're not going to kill our resolve when it comes to us reacting to that word and making sure it's out of the vocabulary of people who shouldn't be using it forever. Understand that. And let me say again, when it comes to the issue of race, we don't have a high horse in this race. We have the only horse in this race. Period. This has the buckle turns for this week, everybody. I'll see everybody as soon as I can. Again, be on the lookout. I promise I'll release the ATBT merch soon. I've just been really, really busy with some projects and some other things over here and family things. But I promise you it will be out soon. And like I said, the markup on it will be low. Well, let me know what you think about this subject, whether you're a person of color or you're not. If you have no dog in the fight, but please understand this. Please take some sort of position on it, or please just at least understand where somebody that looks like me is coming from. Don't dismiss it. At the same time, don't drag the people through the mud till you at least have some time to digest it. Make your own observation, make your own conclusions. But for some reason, don't be indifferent, whatever you do. I understand, if you are a fan of Impact, if you're a fan of Tessa, you're more entitled to that. But whatever you do, don't try to tell us how we should respond to these things. Ever. So until then, this is Adrian. This is As the Buckle Turns. See you next time.